Things are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are you all doing, everybody? I hope you all had a very nice Valentine's Day weekend. Hopefully, it was filled with love and just have a moment to get together with your loved ones, rather it be if you're in a relationship with someone, or maybe it's just getting love from your friends and family. Either way, love is love, no matter where you would go and get it. I will say on my end, however, I tried to do the best that I could during that time, especially when it feels like life really wanted to give me some extra obstacles for Valentine's Day, because it's not enough that I'm still single, but on top of that, I had to get sick with a cold. And even right now, as I am recording this, I'm still trying to get through it. Thankfully, the worst of it is over, but don't be surprised if suddenly I may end up sneezing in the middle of the episode or even having some coughing fits. I'm still trying to get out of it. Like, I'm close to the end, but I'm not there just yet. There is another thing that I want to say, and this is just a little bit of a little announcement, but tomorrow, or technically on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I will be back on Twitch, and I will do a live stream of another episode of What's in the Box. So yes, I got a bunch of your letters and packages ready to go and open up. And then afterwards, we could do a little AMA where we could just have a little chat between us, just talking about how things been. And on top of that, like, whatever you want to go and ask me, you can feel free to do so at that point. But for now, before any of that occurs, we got a heck of an episode right here in which we are going to go and look into a bit of a theme of lost and found, in which we will be discussing about projects in which have unfortunately been canceled, and then those who have been revived after being canceled. So we're going to see a lot of those that we're going to see some comebacks and then some unfortunate projects that are sadly gone. But still, though, it's going to all result in a fun time on today's episode. So with that said, now it is time. I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Who is ready? All right, so let's see now. Who is prepared now? Yes, I'm ready to beat up Trump. Don't we all? All right, but yes, I see people are all ready. People are all set. That is wonderful. And now with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that I have for you today, we're going to be checking out a trailer. Now, this may not be for an upcoming animated project, but this is going to be for something that might catch your interest, especially when the star of this upcoming series did appear in animation before, and we cannot wait to see his animation return later next year. But for now, we are getting a special treat in which we are going to be visiting his universe and how he handles being Spider-Man. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start things off by checking out the trailer for the upcoming Amazon Prime Video series, Spider-Noir.
Tell me why.
You already know how it ends.
And that is the teaser trailer to Spider-Noir, to which it shall be coming out on Amazon Prime Video on May 27th, if I believe is correct. Yes, all right. At least according to this trailer here, it does say May 27th. And as you could tell, this does have a very unique gimmick in which they will be offering the series in two different ways, in which you could go and check it out in black and white, just like what I presented here in the teaser trailer, or what I selected to go and present here, or you could also check it out in true hue full color, in which Amazon actually uploaded this teaser trailer both in black and white and in color. Like, as you could see here, this is all pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much the same as what you saw, but now in color. And I gotta say, like, if I am going to check this out, I feel like I'm gonna be checking it as black and white, because like if it wants to capture that film noir feel, I feel like it does it better when it's just in black and white. Like in here, like, trust me, I am a big fan of adding color to stuff, but I don't know, it doesn't hit as different, especially when this is supposed to be Spider-Noir and his universe and stuff like that. And especially if we are going to go into the context that this is technically the same Spider-Man noir that we saw in the Spider-Verse films, especially with the fact that this is going to be starring Nicolas Cage, who is reprising his role like he did in the animated films. And this is not to mention that the producers of this series is actually going to be some of the same ones from the animated features, considering that I believe it's Amy Pascal, Phil Lord, and Chris Miller who are also on board working on this particular series. And I gotta say, I honestly didn't think much before coming in, because like all I knew is just the business aspect of what this is all about. Like, this is just another strategy for Sony Pictures in order to go and maintain the film rights to to Spider-Man in general, to make sure that they find more excuses so that they don't just give it away to Disney. And after what they have done with the spin-off films, like with Venom, Madame Web, Morbius, and Kraven the Hunter, yeah, that really did not work out, and that ended in a complete disaster. So essentially what Sony's doing right now, they're going to pull a Mandalorian and hoping that maybe working on series can help like tune up what they can do with the franchise in order to really get back on the saddle with making more Spider-Man stuff without the help of Disney, of course, with the MCU and with what they have in store, for example, like with Brand New Day, which I think is going to be coming out this year. But watching this trailer with what they have done, I gotta say, I know this is just a teaser trailer, but so far it is very impressive. Like, with what they are emphasizing here really is the film noir aspect. Like, just looking at the images with what they have captured, especially with the cinematography, it is very nice. Like, already the camera work and a lot of the shots, like, it really does feel immersive that now you've gone back in time to this gritty 1930s and 40s, especially through the lens of a washed up detective who can lean in a lot on the alcohol, and not to mention that Nazis have been a very prominent problem at the time. And, well, sadly, it still kind of is today with Trump and the GOP and the Heritage Foundation. But that's a bit of another story right there. But yeah, I will say, though, so far, the biggest thing that has impressed me with all this is with the cinematography. And not to mention, of course, you do have like those little snippets. Like, I think this trailer actually did a wise decision to save up on the actual Spider-Man aspect. Like, this one is a lot more about the noir than it is about the Spider-Man aspect. I can't say that it's more noir than Spider because as we have seen, like spiders do show up from time to time as like a little symbolism of Spider-Man, but we do get a little bit of like the Spider-Man thing, like especially at the end in which we see Ben Reilly just flying around as Spider-Man Noir, and like you do get some of those Spider-Man like shots, not only at the end when we see him swinging, but there was also one other shot that was like really good. If I could find it, like there was one shot, it's like you go further in the back, and then we see like just Ben just like freely falling down, a little bit similar to what Miles did in Into the Spider-Verse. Just want to see if I could find this clip. I'm doing it one at a time to go and help me save some time for YouTube, so I don't have to fully like edit out everything together, but you guys get what I mean. I mean, we just saw what this trailer unfolds, but so far everything about it really looks nice. And even I will say, like, Nicolas Cage is also a very good detective in this. I think honestly he was casted perfectly, not just in the Spider-Verse films, especially with Into the Spider-Verse, where he plays that cocky detective in the film, but even in here, like he really does lean into that aspect, and you really buy into the factor that he is like one of those early 20th century detectives and really selling on that film noir aspect. So it's not just the cinematography that does very well to sell it, but also Nicolas Cage's performance is so far very promising. So I will say overall, even though we don't necessarily see a whole lot, again, this is just a teaser trailer and that's perfectly fine. I will say this shows a lot of potential. This shows that this could actually be a lot of fun, and this will really go and take advantage of its own genre. It's not going to be like Sony's previous attempts of making those Spider-Man spin-off films. Like this one is really going to be like more about the genre that it wants to pay homage to, more so than trying to capitalize on Spider-Man. Yes, we will be getting those Spider-Man aspects, but this one will be much more than just, you know, like another Spider-Man adaptation. That's more going to be feeling like a bonus, more so than what we will actually receive with the film noir, with the detective and the mystery aspect. That is going to be pretty fascinating to watch. Now, I will admit, I'm still like a little bit on the fence. I'm not 100% sold on it. I'm still like in a bit of a wait and see kind of attitude. And if it's getting high praise and if it's like considered as a must watch from critics and audiences, then I will consider checking this out. But so far, I will say with what they have done with the trailer here, or at least with the teaser, so far, it's a good job to provide a good first impression of it. And with that said, if you guys are interested in checking out Spider-Noir, then keep in mind that it's going to be coming out on Amazon Prime on May 27th. And with that said, now I would like to go and pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you all think about the teaser trailer of Spider-Noir? Are you guys impressed by it? Did you guys think that it was just amazing and you really got to go and check this out? Or do you have any criticisms that you would like to go and point out that's holding you back from having full-on enthusiasm for it? And also, you know what? Let's go and have a little bit of fun with this little poll. And I'm going to go and immediately ask you all, which version of Spider-Noir will you watch? And you can answer this only if you want to go and check this out. So either in black and white or in full color. So let's go and start this poll, and let's see what the chat wall has to say now. All right, so I'm impressed with this so far, especially with Nick Cage, who's looking like he's having the time of his life portraying Spider-Man Noir, both animated and live action. Yes, I'll be seeing this in black and white only since Noir doesn't even know what colors are, and also that Rubik's Cube joke wouldn't make sense if this was in color. I'll definitely be seated at home for this. Yeah, that is true. That's one thing I am curious about, considering that obviously this clearly has a connection with the Spider-Verse films, especially with having Nicolas Cage reprising his role as Spider-Man Noir. I am curious to know if this will canonically be linked to the Spider-Verse films. Like, will there actually be some kind of connection where, like, you'll see elements that may actually relate to the Spider-Verse movies, and if this is truly the same Spider-Man Noir like in the movies? I am curious of that, especially like if they are going to bring up the Rubik's Cube element to it, like if that's going to suddenly make a comeback. I am curious if we will see a little bit of links to it, or they're just going to keep it as its own standalone thing. And if that's the case, honestly, I'd be perfectly fine. I mean, we've already had more than enough of like things that are like that require you to have homework, you know, like with the MCU and stuff like that. It's like, oh, if you want to understand this, then you got to watch this and this and this and this. If you just want to do a standalone thing that doesn't have to connect with anything else, honestly, I'm all for it. In fact, I encourage that, especially major franchises should do that more often, especially with the MCU and Star Wars, especially. Like, we don't need all those connections to like the Clone Wars and Rebels to try to understand a simple thing that's going on in a recent series. Let's see now. All right. This trailer really impressed me. Let's see. Spider-Man Noir was one of my favorite aspects of Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm glad he's getting his own series. Visually, it's impressive with the whole noir aspect. The action looks cool, and Nicolas Cage is still great as Noir. So overall, this definitely has potential. And I think at this point, Sony really is hoping this becomes a hit, because if it doesn't, their future with Spider-Man will be very questionable. Oh, you got that right. All right, let's see now. Spider-Noir was one of my favorite characters in Into the Spider-Verse, and this trailer really has me hyped. The action and cinematography are top dollar. Nicolas Cage is still Nicolas Caging it up, and I like that it's something different from a Spider-Man spin-off as opposed to whatever the flippity-flop Madam Web was. This is gonna make for a neat watch. But if we're gonna get this soon enough, when are we gonna make Spider-Punk spin-off? Wait. Oh, that would be amazing. Oh, no, wait, no, technically they're actually working on that. I just had that little moment. And by the way, just a quick side note, apparently those of you who have voted in the poll have stated that the grand majority of you, specifically 88%, have stated that if you're going to be watching Spider-Man Noir, you're prepared to go and watch it in black and white, with only 13% saying that you're just going to check it out in true color or in full color. So interesting. All right. So it looks like the black and white is going to be the big preference here. All right, so let's see what else we got here now. What other comments are there to read? I like the trailer, but I'm still waiting for a Penny Parker animated series, either by Studio Kara or Boulder Media, the studio behind Randy Cunningham's Ninth Grade Ninja. I don't know. We'll see soon enough if that's actually going to be real. But I guess for now, the first one we're gonna have in terms of that spinoff is going to be Spider-Man Noir. Let's see. This has me interested. I enjoy Nick Cage and Spider-Man Noir in Spider-Verse, so seeing a version of him in a lead role would be cool. Although the only thing I know of the comic is that his version of the Vulture is a cannibal and ate Uncle Ben. I doubt that they're going to add that in the show. You never know, honestly. You know, there are some things that could actually surprise you, and maybe they could lean into it. In fact, we barely saw much of the villains in this trailer, come to think of it. I think the only thing that they've done is that they hinted out a little bit that we may be getting Electro. Like, if we just go back, like, I think there's at some point, like, in the end, like, we just see a dude's hand causing static electricity. And I just want to see if, yeah, right here. Okay, exactly. There. So we do have a confirmation that Electro is going to be making an appearance, but I think that's all so far in terms of this series of what's been confirmed. Like, all we know is that we got Nazis and we got Electro, and that's it. Any more? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Apparently someone also confirmed apparently Mr. Negative is going to be in there. So I guess we'll see. Let's see. Any other comments to go and read? This does look intriguing, especially since this is taking the character in a completely serious direction, since Spider-Noir was originally just a joke character in the first Spider-Verse. But hopefully it'll be better than the recent non-Spider-Man movies. By the way, it was an honor having my quote on Blue Sky being reposted by you. Oh, you're welcome. Let's see now. Now this is how you do a Spider-Man spin-off. This really looks impressive, from the cinematography, the visuals, Nick Cage as Spider-Man Noir, and even the swinging at the end looks really good. As a huge Spider-Man fan, I am very hyped for this, and this really makes me wish that Sony should have made more stuff like this with Spider-Man than the Spider-Man movie spin-offs we got like Morbius or Kraven. Well, you know, better late than never. All right. Any other comments? I'll read a few and then we're going to move on to our first break. So as someone who loves Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse to the point where it's my favorite film of 2018, this looks awesome. It is a great showcase of show don't tell. Showing this will be great for both Spider-Verse fans. Please, this has Nicolas Cage and him not acting like a maniac. Maybe in the future we could get more Spider-Verse based series like Peter Porker or Penny Parker. Overall, great stuff. I think there might be one thing that I'll disagree. At least from what we are seeing in the trailer, I would not be surprised if suddenly we'll have little moments where Nicolas Cage is just gonna burst out into insanity. I feel like we might get a little bit of that. So if you're thinking that we might end up with a more calm and subdued type of Nicolas Cage in this, I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't know. I feel like we might get some crazy Cage in this. Okay. Let's see. One more comment to go and read, if there is one. Okay. I'll be waiting for a Spider-Ham animated series being done in the limited animated style of the 70s or 80s Filmation, with Greg Berg voicing Peter Porker for a possible Saturday morning series. Is that wishful thinking, like a fan casting, or is that a real thing? I don't know. I'm just curious. All right. But anyways, that should actually, hold on. There is one more I want to go and check. As a Disney adult, I guess I'm not used to the studio actually making movies that people want. So I'm a little surprised they made this. Well, technically this is a series, so that's a little bit different. Again, it is possible that this is going to be the Sony Spider-Man equivalent of The Mandalorian. And considering how that did extremely well for Lucasfilm and Disney and for the Star Wars franchise, maybe this could also do great in order to go and revive more ideas of what Sony can do with Spider-Man specifically. But again, so far there's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of hype that's been building up, and many people that I see here are very much impressed to what we have gotten with this teaser trailer. So again, if you are interested in checking out Spider-Noir, then keep in mind that it will be coming out in black and white and full color on May 27th on Amazon Prime Video. And with that said, we're going to go on to our first break here. And when we come back, I'm going to do something a little bit different, because I will show you another trailer, but this is not about the trailer in particular. It's actually about the announcement that came with this trailer. Not to mention that this is going to be a trailer for a movie that I actually reviewed not too long ago, so stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. Now, for our next story, we are going to go and talk about a movie that I've discussed several times in the past with my videos. In fact, it was only a few months ago that I actually went and did a full review of this after mentioning it several times in a few different top 10s, actually. In the past, I ranked it at number 1 as the most underrated animated feature out there. And recently, I also put it as an honorable mention among the funniest animated features. So safe to say that this is honestly something that I very much enjoy. However, there is a recent news related to this movie in particular, and they put out a trailer as part of an announcement for this. Now, we don't necessarily know any major plans of what they are going to do next with this movie, which I will go and discuss a little later. But for now, let's go and check out the trailer, or at least the announcement trailer, if you will, of GKIDS having Allegro non Troppo.
Signore e signori.
And that is Allegro non Troppo, to which now the North American rights belong to GKIDS. And that's the main reveal of all this. It's the fact that, GKIDS has managed to get the North American film rights to the entirety of Bruno Bozzetto's filmography. And for those of you who don't know, Bruno Bozzetto is a longtime Italian animator, been working on it for literally decades. And one of the shorts that he has made even got an Oscar nomination. However, what he is the most known for is creating the Fantasia parody Allegro non Troppo, to which this year officially marks the 50th anniversary of the feature. And in fact, if you're not that familiar with the movie, I'm going to go into my source here on Animation Magazine, in which it gives you a little bit of a clear description of what this is about. So it states right here, an enterprising producer believes he has hit upon a winning concept, a program of original animated shorts set to classical music. Undeterred by warnings that this has already done by an American named Prisme, un Americano, he rallies an orchestra of geriatric women, a bullish conductor, and an animator that he keeps locked in the dungeon. What could go wrong? A gleeful send-up of Disney's Fantasia, Allegro non Troppo blends live-action slapstick with cheeky animation for a film as joyful and raunchy as it is thoughtful and cutting. And we don't have any announcements in terms of what GKIDS is going to do with the entire catalog or with Allegro non Troppo, but it is confirmed that in New York City specifically, they are going to have a premiere of the feature, specifically a brand new 4K restoration of the film at the Metrograph, in which it will be paired up with Walt Disney's Fantasia. And if you're in the New York City area around that time, then keep in mind that is going to be happening starting March 27th, which will be a Friday. So any of you who are interested in doing so, then, if you're in New York, there's your chance to go and do that. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a confirmation of what else. I know I've already mentioned this, but we don't know what's going to be the next steps of what GKIDS is going to be doing with Allegro non Troppo or Bruno Bozzetto's film catalog. We don't know if there's going to be a wider release of Allegro non Troppo. We don't know if there's going to be, well, wider release, I mean like a wider theatrical release of this new restoration. And also we don't know if there's going to be any announcements in terms of the physical media release, because of course with GKIDS, a big part of what they are known for is releasing a lot of these indie animated projects or a lot of these international films on physical media, rather it be on DVD, Blu-ray, or also in 4K. There's no announcements as of yet, but what we do know is that they have the rights to Allegro non Troppo and Bruno Bozzetto, at least in terms of North America. And that for me, honestly, I'm personally very excited because if you watch my videos, you know I love the movie. It's honestly like one of my favorite comedies out there, and especially when this is like, it's not just a parody of my favorite film, Fantasia, but it's both a parody and an homage at the same time. Yes, there are moments where they would just go and completely spoof the concept, especially with the live action segments where they just turn it into a straight up Monty Python bit where you just expect the unexpected, even to the point where you'll just have like weird random moments, especially like with the old ladies as part of the orchestra, or suddenly there's this gorilla that's just running on the loose at like in the concert. Like you'll get a lot of those crazy moments occurring. But still, though, it is a lot of fun. And even the animated segments, they can really be great on their own. There are some in which like you could actually like take a handful of them and you could actually put it in a Fantasia movie and it wouldn't change anything whatsoever. And it's also worth noting that this movie is known to be so good that even the people at Disney loved it. Even back when it was originally released, the original animators of Fantasia, they loved Bruno Bozzetto's works and they loved Allegro non Troppo. It was actually stated that Ward Kimball, while he was educating students on animation, he was recommending them again and again to go and check out one of the segments because he actually stated that it was one of the best that he has ever seen, or at least some of the best animation that you can actually go and find. So overall, this is all to say that this is a wonderful animated feature, and if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you go and do so. And the big part of what makes me so excited with this announcement is that now that GKIDS actually has the North American rights, that will actually give a lot more of a strong chance for the movie to actually be seen by people. Now it's going to be a lot more accessible than it was before, or at least like now it's going to be more prominently displayed, because technically, yes, there was a moment where you can actually go and easily find it. I believe it was like uploaded for free on YouTube. But if you wanted to go and watch it with the English subtitles, that could be a little bit tricky. Like you would have to go on eBay and hope to go and find if there's somebody who actually put up the DVD of it. I'm not even sure if it even had a Blu-ray release before, but now with GKIDS, that looks like it could be part of the future. That one day they're going to, like, hopefully soon, they're going to announce that we're going to be getting the Blu-ray or maybe even the 4K of Allegro non Troppo. But on top of that, keep in mind that it's not just the movie itself, but they also got the filmography of Bruno Bozzetto. So you know that the bonus features is gonna be aplenty. That it's not just gonna be Allegro non Troppo, but they'll also offer many of Bruno Bozzetto's works and really highlight a lot of his influence in animation, whether it be back in the 70s or even in the 60s or even a bit in the modern era as well, because Bruno Bozzetto actually does have a history with working with Flash animation in the early 2000s, believe it or not. That or the late 1990s as well. It's one of the two, but still though, Bozzetto has touched upon Flash animation, where that also went on to have great influence in terms of internet animation from there. So just looking back at it, it's funny because I always considered it to be like one of my dream ideas of some kind of Blu-ray of this particular movie. Now, this was honestly something that I expected Criterion would go and do. I feel like this would have been such a perfect fit for Criterion to go and pick up, and then they would also go and provide it with plenty of bonus features, especially like highlighting the works of Bruno Bozzetto, like showing like many of his shorts and stuff like that, and also putting in like additional essays about the movie. Like you would like this really feels like something that Criterion would go and easily do to go and produce an epic Blu-ray or just a physical media in general of this movie. But since it is GKIDS, honestly, I'm not complaining because they're also great as well. And they're also brilliant in terms of crafting, not just bonus features, but crafting physical media as well that really gives your bang for your buck. Like they know how to really make it worth it. And I mean, to this day, there are still some things that I'm looking forward from them that they would go and release and that I'll happily go and get. I know that next month, at some point, they're going to be releasing the Blu-ray of Little Amélie, which has been a prominent contender during this award season. And I've already seen the film. I really loved it. I consider it one of the best animated features of 2025. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for the Blu-ray release. But now that they're also going to include Allegro non Troppo, this is already my new thing that I am the most anticipated for in 2026. Like previously, it was the Muppet Show revival, like that Muppet Show revival special that aired on ABC and on Disney Plus. And if you guys haven't seen the review of it, I absolutely loved it. And it was a very rare moment where I actually gave it a perfect 10 out of 10. Like, honestly, it was already one of my favorite things to ever come out of 2026, and one of my favorite things to have come out in terms of media in recent years. Like it was absolutely brilliant and I loved it. But now with that done, I guess now my next thing that I'm really looking forward to is going to be Allegro non Troppo on Blu-ray whenever GKIDS is going to be bringing it out. You know what? I could be wrong on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they could actually make an announcement relating to it on that premiere at the Metrograph. Like, considering that they're going to be presenting this with Fantasia, maybe GKIDS is also going to be doing some kind of announcement on March 27th with what else they're going to do with Bruno Bozzetto's catalog and Allegro non Troppo. But if the day comes that they do reveal that there is going to be a Blu-ray release of it or any kind of physical media release of it, I am absolutely going to be down to go and order it. In fact, I'm not usually a guy who would go and pre-order things, but I think this might be one that I definitely will do so if they do announce it. Because again, for now, the announcement is just about getting the North American film rights and, excuse me, folks, as well as the fact that they're going to be screening it in New York City. But either way, as someone who loves the movie, I am totally hyped up for it. And with that said, now it is time I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think of GKIDS acquiring the North American film rights to Allegro non Troppo? And also, I would love to know your thoughts on Allegro non Troppo if you have seen the film. Like, let me know what you all think of it. All right. Let's see. I'll admit I haven't seen Allegro non Troppo myself, so I can't really comment on this that much. But the fact that GKIDS managed to get the rights is very impressive, especially with how they are well known for releasing big independent animated films. So overall, this is a big win for the movie. So maybe more people can discover it and watch it. Yeah, and I think honestly, that's one thing that I am the most excited for. I mean, there are several factors, but that's also what I am hoping to go and check out. I'm hoping to see if this can occur, that more people can actually see Allegro non Troppo. Because again, it's a wonderful animated feature, and it's both a parody and a celebration of Fantasia. So honestly, if we can get that going, then honestly, like it would just make me happy. Anyways, all right. Matt, you were right. This was insane. The animation is really zany, which matches the movie's freak perfectly, and the music accompanying the trailer is perfectly manic. Kind of makes me curious what they do in the film itself. I'm definitely going to see it when it comes. Wait, this is already out? Well, see it in 85 minutes. Exactly. Again, you could check it out. Like, technically right now, I don't think they offer it with the English subs, but you can check it out for free right now on YouTube. Like, just search Allegro non Troppo and find a really big video of it, and there you will actually see the film. So I just want to go and emphasize that right now. Anyways, honestly, I'm really interested to check it out. Ever since you mentioned it from your top 10 and your review, I've only seen a bit, and I've only seen bits and pieces of it, and I do actually think this could be a great thing to watch. I would even say you had me when you said the humor is like a SpongeBob cartoon. So, so far I'm already sold for it, and happy that it's no longer underrated. Also, does it by chance have it in any English dubbing? Just asking. Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think there's any English dubs of it. It's only English subs, and that's it. Although I am going to give you a little bit of a warning, because I know for some of you, you might be a little bit sensitive in this subject, but there are times when it can get horny. So there are moments, like bits and pieces, where, yeah, there are times when, well, as the article on Animation Magazine stated, there are moments when it can get a little bit raunchy at times. So if you're not the kind of person who's cool with seeing naked women or get into the subject of sex and stuff like that, you might get turned off by it. But still, though, like if you're cool with it, if you're fine with the subject of sex, then, oh, this is going to be a hell of a good time. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's a bit more comments coming. Let's see. I'm definitely looking forward to own a copy of this film, since you're the reason why I watch Allegro non Troppo. Hopefully it's not too expensive. Like, how much was it? $300 for this movie? Hopefully it's worth getting it on Blu-ray. Oh, it will. And considering it is GKIDS distributing it, it absolutely be worth it. Anyways, hey, it's about time that Allegro non Troppo got a new release. It's been a while since we got one. Even if I haven't seen it, this is truly something from Have Seen. Plus, this is GKIDS. They're known for this. They are the kings of indie releases for animated films. Plus, this is a hell of a lot better than the other Italian animated films. I'm looking at you three Titanics with a rapping dog, Atlantis, and a stupid octopus. Hey, I mean, Italy can actually make some great animation, and Allegro non Troppo is probably the best example of that. So, For now, we don't have a confirmation of a physical release or a wider theatrical release, but if you are in New York City, then head your way to the Metrograph on March 27th when Allegro and Troppo will be premiering with a new 4K restoration alongside Walt Disney's Fantasia. And with that said, we're going to go on to our next break. And when we come back, we're going to go and discuss about a project that has unfortunately been canceled. And the timing of it, well, it's kind of funny because this studio just released a new animated feature, but at the same time, they also had to go and drop one. Well, maybe not at the same time, but the announcement of that being dropped came in at the same time as its new release. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back. Now, when it comes to our next story, we are going to discuss about Sony Pictures Animation. And what perfect timing to talk about the studio, considering that for the first time in over 8 years, they have released an original animated feature in theaters, specifically with GOAT. And the reception that it has been getting so far, it's been okay. So far, everything about it feels like it's just been okay. The reviews of critics have been okay. The reaction of audiences have been okay. Even with how it's doing at the box office, it's just doing okay. It's like doing a little bit better than what Markiplier did with Iron Lung. So far, GOAT is already on track to becoming a movie of the year. So in that regards, okay, well, at least it could have been worse, I guess. But with that said, however, there is also a little bit of sad news that is related to our subject with Sony Pictures Animation. With the fact that GOAT is now officially released in theaters, there is also a report that an anticipated animated feature that they have been working on is no longer going to be happening and has been confirmed to be canceled. So with that said, let's go and discuss about Matt Brawley's movie. Yes, the creator of the Disney series Amphibia, Matt Brawley, has confirmed on social media, mainly on his Instagram, that the animated movie that he was producing or that he was working at Sony Pictures Animation with Rebecca Sugar helping him out to go and write the script has now officially been canceled. And to go further into the details of what happened, I'm going to go and read you specifically on the post that Matt Brawley put in on Instagram, which is from my source here on Variety, to which it states right over here, at the very start of 2025, I received the unfortunate news that the movie I had been working on for 2+ years at a major animation studio would not be moving forward. I'm super proud of the lovely script that Rebecca Sugar and I wrote together, and I'm disappointed that you will all likely never get to see the film. I had a really supportive development team, but the film was ultimately judged as not commercial enough to produce. I understand these decisions are not made lightly, and I have nothing but respect for the studio, which continues to put out amazing films. The movie was about a teen boy traveling to the world of Thai spirits in order to cure himself just before undergoing a very scary and life-altering operation necessary to live. This was not a story about finding a cure so much as it was about learning to accept one's unchangeable circumstances with grace. And, oh, excuse me, folks, and realizing that a different life than expected can still be a wonderful one. It was a deeply personal story for me as I was diagnosed with an incurable chronic illness at a very young age that brought permanent changes to my lifestyle. Not only that, but it would have been an honor to bring more Thai culture to the big screen, a torch I hope someone else picks up. Today, I would like to share just a small bit of the artwork that we created during development. Hopefully you can close your eyes and imagine how cool the film would have been if completed. I won't lie. This decision really knocked the wind out of me for a few months, and I struggled to find enthusiasm to be creative again. With some space thought, I think the experience has strengthened my resolve about what I'd like to pursue next and how I like to go about doing it. Thank you for your support, and please stay tuned for the next day for the announcement of my next project, which we will get to a little later. But for now, let's go and check out the artwork that he posted here. And as you can see, this is a lot of character designs of those who would be appearing in Matt Brawley's movie. So you got the protagonist here, both in his casual wear and also dressed up in his hospital gear. And then you got a spirit that might be more antagonistic or a little bit more creepy with a little temple for a head and his eyes literally popping out of his skull. Then like you got a bunch of cute little like seed or acorn characters, just little round dudes. That's basically the best way to describe them, little round dudes. And then we also got two artworks from this goddess, basically this Thai goddess with 6 arms. So she would probably play a major role in the picture or have some great significance. Then you also got a monkey character who is just sitting on a rock, just looking up with, with his big hat just beside him. And then you also got an old dragon who could be best described if Sisu from Ryan the Last Dragon would become 1,000 years old. This is probably what she would look like. And then you also got this happy-go-lucky Thai spirit, like dressed up as a full-on strong Thai warrior with his skin full-on red and has some tusks where his canine teeth would be. Just small tusks with some rings on it. And there's even a 3D model of this particular character where you also see that he has a missing leg. So as you can see, the image can also spin. So you got all those images of what could have been in that particular feature. But if I might as well go and get this out of the way also. If I may quote the Enchanted Tiki Room, every rain cloud has a silver line. And in that regards, the next day, Matt Brawley officially made his announcement of what he is going to do next, to which he decided that he's going to step away from working with mainstream studios after being disenchanted by not just Sony, but all the others as well, like with Netflix, with Warner Brothers, with Disney, and all that kind of stuff. And he's going to be opening his own independent studio called Fantasy Projects, in which the first cartoon that he's going to be working on is called Clara and the Below, which is described as, from Amphibia creator Matt Brawley, an animated gothic horror spin on the Nutcracker, full of wintry chills and somber vibes. And right now, he has an entire Kickstarter set up for this particular series, in which you could go and be notified on when this is going to be begin, because the Kickstarter will officially start on March 13th at noon Pacific time or 3 p.m. Eastern. So this is pretty much to go and say that for now, when it comes to Matt Brawley himself, like, he did need some time to go and recover after his passion project was pretty much canceled. But still, though, he is doing fine, and now he's going to be taking another step and ready to go and start his own project, completely separate from all the works that you would find in the mainstream. So basically, he just needs a moment to completely separate himself from the mainstream system so that he can work on his own independent animated project, starting with Clara and the Below. So just thought I'd give you the heads up on that. And again, go to Kickstarter if you want to go and be ready to know when the campaign is going to activate if you want to go and support this project. But going back into what Sony has done, the fact that they have canceled Matt Brawley's movie at Sony Pictures Animation. You know, honestly, I feel like this is something that, like, I'm a bit surprised, but not surprised as well. Because it is shocking to hear that with this project in particular, they decided to completely can it after it has already gotten a lot of positive reception from animation fans. Like, people were really hyped up for it, especially with the people who were attached to it. I mean, it's not just with the Amphibia creator, but I mean, you also got the creator of Steven Universe, Rebecca Sugar, also being involved to go and write the script for it to see what else they could really go and do in order to truly explore this new original world. You know, they already built up that hype. They already made the announcement that they got them on board to go and work on the movie and stuff like that. But then suddenly, all that work seems to just be for nothing and just completely drop it. Basically, the hype now officially means nothing and they don't really want to go and pursue it, mainly because of the fact that they told him it just wasn't commercial enough to go and sell. But funny enough, though, another reason why I'm rather surprised that they decided to go and drop it is the fact that, you know, this would have been a great opportunity for Sony to have their own K-pop Demon Hunters. And I know that sounds very silly of me to say, considering that K-pop Demon Hunters was done by Sony Pictures Animation, but I mean a K-pop Demon Hunters that they could fully own. That, like, they've already established that they could do amazingly well, or they could do great when it comes to making a movie that could really highlight an Asian culture, such as the case with K-pop Demon Hunters, in which they found great success with highlighting Korean culture, both like the long history of it and also the modern culture with K-pop and stuff like that. And this could have had a great chance to be the Thai equivalent to K-pop Demon Hunters, where it could really highlight Thai culture, honoring the myths and legends of its past and also the modern culture of Thailand that it is now. Or I don't know if it would be Thailand or Taiwan or one of the two, at least. I'm not as familiar, and if I am mixing that up, I do apologize, by the way, but this could have been a chance to do like some kind of spiritual successor to K-pop Demon Hunters and learn the lessons of what they got right for that movie and how that became a big success, and they could also apply that to what Matt Brawley was doing at Sony Animation with his movie. But alas, I guess they decided, nah, that ain't the case. But with that said, though, I'm also not surprised at the same time, because Sony Animation really has a tendency to overhype projects that ultimately they would just not do in general. Now, I'll state right now, yes, I know for a fact that it is very common. In fact, it's more common for a project to get canceled in a major studio than for it to actually get made and to be released. Like, we see this all the time, and every single studio that you can imagine, they do the same thing as well. It's not just Sony, but they also do this at Disney, at Pixar, at Illumination, at DreamWorks, at Paramount, at Warner Brothers, at Skydance, just about every single one you could think of. This happens all the time. It sucks, but that's just part of filmmaking. That's just show business, if you will. But the thing that is different with Sony compared to everyone else is that Sony has a tendency to go and announce their projects way too early. Like, they would go and announce them even before they would go and get greenlit. And this is something we've seen often, where they try to go and build hype on whatever upcoming projects that they would go and do. Ultimately, after a few years, suddenly they would decide, nah, you know what? We're just not going to go and do it. We saw this with Genndy Tartakovsky's Popeye. We saw this with Lauren Faust when she wanted to go and make her Medusa movie. And we've seen this like a few times again and again from Sony. It's just the big difference is that with Sony, they would go and like announce it way too early with what they want to go and do. So they should have a tendency to like at least tone down until they are more confident that this is going to be made. I mean, yes, this does happen with the other studios. Like it happens with Pixar, or it happens with Disney, it happens with DreamWorks and stuff like that. But those are extremely rare though. Like it's more common to see this happen with Sony than it is with the other studios, because Sony, again, they have a tendency to go and announce their projects way too early, even before they would go and get greenlit. Now, with that said, though, even though, yes, this is very disappointing to hear that a great potential project would ultimately get canceled at a studio like Sony Pictures Animation. But it is worth noting, however, that I feel like this is kind of a sobering moment where for animation fans, and especially for the cartoon community, this is for them to really go and open their eyes and to see the reality about Sony Pictures Animation. And that is the fact that really, even though I might get some backlash for saying this, but you have to face facts, Sony Pictures Animation is actually not that different from any other major animation studio out there. They are no different than Walt Disney Animation Studios. They are no different than Pixar. They are no different from DreamWorks. They are no different from Illumination. They are no different than any other studio out there. And the reason why I want to go and emphasize this is mainly because of this weird perception from the cartoon community in which they always push Sony to look like that they are far greater than what they actually are. Because one of the big issues with the cartoon community is that they currently have this narrative going on in which they are freaking out about animation is just dying, that it is now in a catastrophic state, and that at some point the entire industry is just going to completely collapse and just be gone for good. And they are just so desperate to try to go and find a savior, if you will, to find a new champion of animation that is not Disney. And they would really latch on to go and find some kind of messiah, or even look upon YouTubers, not just myself, but even people like Shafrillas or Saberspark or Pan Pizza, Cartoonshi, Cellspecs, or any of those people, and look at them as martyrs who would go and bring animation to the direction that it should be and go against the evil creatives that tried to ruin animation with AI and all that kind of crap. So they're really desperate to try to go and find some kind of savior. And when they do find one, they put them at such an impossibly high pedestal. Like they've done this many times with Glitch Productions, for example. But another one that they have done a lot is with Sony Pictures Animation, where you would find plenty of YouTube videos in which people are saying that, oh, Sony Animation is now the new kings of the industry. They're going to take over animation. They're going to destroy Disney. When that could not be further from the truth. And they're only expressing that because of the movies that they have released. Like, rather it be those that have received critical acclaim, like the Mitchells vs. the Machines or the Spider-Verse films, or because of the big success that we have seen with K-pop Demon Hunters, because those films, they feel like they emphasize the narrative of animation is cinema. But the truth of the matter is that it is possible for Sony Animation to still make subpar or even bad movies. I mean, don't forget that around the same time as K-pop Demon Hunters, Sony also put out Fix. And we saw the reactions of those where many people even went beyond what I've done in the past with the whole Sony Animation hate phase. But at the same time, not only do the quality isn't always perfect every single time, but also they would also make these business-like decisions that you would hear criticism towards Disney or any other company out there. Again, they're really not that different from Disney, where yes, they would go and cancel projects that would have great potential, like what we have seen with Matt Brawley. They would also have a tendency to go and really push franchises down to the point where they would go and exploit them and really run them to the ground, such as the case as what we are seeing with Hotel Transylvania. Even though, like, that series has been long done, even before Transformania, that franchise was pretty much dead. But now they're still trying to push for a new Netflix series for it, and the possibility of trying to make a 5th movie out of it. So if you want to talk about unnecessary sequels, Sony is still pretty guilty of it. But then there is AI. And I know that's a major criticism that a lot of people love to use to go after Disney, and justifiably so. Like, yes, yeah, Disney has been pretty bad with trying to go and trying to implement AI whenever they can, even though, like, a lot of it is just theoretical. But that doesn't mean that Sony is any different, though. Like, we know, we have seen reports in the past that Sony Pictures has expressed that they really want to be on board with implementing AI onto their projects. And on top of that, Sony Animation has also expressed this as well. Now, I would like to go and bring your attention to this article here from The Hollywood Reporter. It is called Sony Pictures Animation Bosses on K-Pop Netflix Plans, Spider-Verse Pressure, and Betting on GOAT. Now, this is basically an interview with the heads of Sony Animation, specifically Christine Belson and Damien de Froberville, in which they've discussed, of course, they've talked about GOAT, which the main thing is to go and promote GOAT. But at the same time, they've also discussed about the future plans of K-pop Demon Hunters and that the sequel may not be coming out in 2029. It could be a little bit after that. At the same time, they discuss about the current progress of Beyond the Spider-Verse, as well as discussing about the possibility of working with Genndy Tartakovsky again, even after Fixed. But then there is this last question that they were asked that I would like to bring your attention to, which is right over here, in which it states, are you integrating AI in your workflow? In which de Froberville states, AI is a sweet tool that we are at some point will explore and probably leverage. It seems today Gen AI is not directable enough for what we do. So basically, that's not a no. You know, this honestly sounds a lot like what Disney would go and respond. It's that kind of PR answer that you would expect, in which it would go and, you know, just bring love and support to all the human artists out there, that human creativity is far more important, but they would never go and say no. In fact, it kind of reminds me a lot of what Josh D'Amaro, the future CEO of Disney, actually stated about AI, in which he would give a lot of love to artists and animators and to all the human workers at Disney, but he would never specifically say no on AI. And it's kind of the same thing right here. They're not saying that they are opposed to using AI in a Sony animated feature. So this is all to go. And by the way, I just want to go and mention that this is not a slam on Sony Pictures Animation. Like, even with all this, they're still a solid animation studio, and I've been enjoying a lot of their recent outputs. Like, I am a big fan of not just the Spider-Verse films, but also with Vivo and Mitchell's vs. the Machines. But but with that said, though, even though, yeah, they're not really that different from studios like Disney or Illumination, they're still a solid studio the same way that Disney and Illumination are still very solid studios. This is more of a slam of the cartoon community's perspective of Sony Animation and the way that they put them on an impossibly high pedestal, trying to say that they are the new champions or that they will be the people that will destroy Disney or any of that kind of stupid crap, to go and keep bringing up their ridiculous narrative of that they are the saviors of animation. Like that is a little too exaggerated. It's kind of like the opposite spectrum of when I was that Sony animation hater, except you get like a lot of those same attributes. A lot of it just comes from entitlement and pretentiousness, where people are just so desperate of wanting to take animation seriously, and they think that something like Spider-Verse or K-pop Demon Hunters will do that, when in reality, it's not. And when you look into the behind the scenes of it, they're really not that different, and they could do those same unethical practices even in regards to stuff like AI and stuff like that. So really, it's just that's just something that really needs to be brought up, especially like with all those videos that keep coming out of it that overhype Sony, or that they would weaponize Sony in order to attack Disney and Pixar and stuff like that. Really, it's like it's nothing but a false narrative. And again, it's part of the problem with how the cartoon community can be nowadays. Like, yo, if you think that I was bad as like during my Sony animation hate phase, you need to see how the cartoon community is right now. And yeah, they're at the brink of imploding. I'm just saying, eventually, like, there needs to be a time we need to have a serious talk about the problems of the cartoon community. So with that said, by the way, I'm going to go onto a little break just to go and have a refresh on the timer, because I know I talked a lot, but when we do come back, however, we will go and discuss about this. I'm going to go and read your comments, and we'll look into the chat wall on what they have to say about the entirety of this whole situation, with Matt Brawley's project being canceled at Sony Animation, and the current state of how people view Sony Animation, and that it's, you know, a lot of it is driven by hyperboles and false perspectives of who they actually are. So stay tuned for that. All right, welcome back. So now let's see what the chat wall has to say about this entire news with Matt Brawley's canceled Sony Animation movie. So let's see. You're telling me that the creators of Amphibia and Steven Universe were making an animated movie and Sony canceled it, and they canceled it because they didn't know how to market it. Ah! Did Sony's marketing team find the leftover stupid pills that their creative team took when they made the Emoji Movie? First, they gave up K-pop Demon Hunters franchise rights, and now this. Do they want to keep paying Disney Spider-Man's licensing fee? You never know. It could be a yes. And not to mention, by the way, like, I know some people are commenting of like, does Sony it's like, do you guys regret what you've done? Do you realize how stupid you were with K-pop Demon Hunters? You know, the funny thing is, if we do go back to this Hollywood Reporter article, like, they did talk about K-pop Demon Hunters, and like, no, they're not showing signs of regret whatsoever. They're still trying to hype up that, yeah, it's great that it's doing well on Netflix. Netflix is the perfect platform for K-pop Demon Hunters. Who needs theatrical releases when you got Netflix? Okay, maybe they didn't say that last one, but they're not showing regrets. They're trying to present themselves like they're doing all the right moves with K-pop Demon Hunters and giving it away to Netflix. So just thought I would give you a highlight on that. But again, if you want more accurate details, please go and read this article here. Anyways, let's see here. Hearing about Matt Brawley's Sony Animation project being canceled was pretty heartbreaking to hear, and absolutely sucks that Sony Pictures decided to do this. Guys, if you want future projects to not be canceled, go see Hoppers, go see Hex, go see Forgotten Island. I don't want to hear that Hoppers or Hex flopped and animation fans online attacking it because of a stupid nitpick. This could cause a chain reaction, so please go and support original films, and yeah, Sony Animation isn't perfect either. I'll even add that honestly, if you want to go and support more original films, like right now, there is an opportunity to do so. Like, go and watch GOAT on the big screen. Again, like, this is something that I've been saying for years. Like, regardless of their quality, regardless of how you may think, if you want to see more original animated features be made and be released in theaters, go and actually watch them. Go and actually check them out. At least do so for the principle of it. Like, maybe it might not come out great, but at least at least you could go and support, and maybe it'll have a better chance to go and actually do well in order to spin off new franchises and encourage more original stuff going. Again, like regardless if it would be GOAT, which is out right now, or any of the upcoming ones like Forgotten Island, Hexed, or Hoppers, or anything like that, it's more like, if you really do believe so, if you really do believe in sorry, I keep tripping on my own words, but what I'm trying to say is, if you really do support original animated features and you want to see more of them, instead of just jumping into bandwagons on social media and just repeating whatever content creators would go and say online, just go and watch it yourself. Like, seriously. Actually think for yourself instead of blindly jumping on bandwagons and repeating what reviewers would go and say. Because that way, you'll get less sequels and more original stuff when you take your own actions instead of just blindly doing or blindly repeating whatever social media would go and say. Especially if you're on Twitter. You need to spend less time on Twitter in general. Let's see. I've been dealing with people who get triggered by the idea of AI because they argued it was predictable that it would replace jobs. What I wish to say in this situation is that there should be some regulations into the use of AI so that it won't replace human contributors altogether. Well, in a way, that's a bit of a different subject altogether, and that's like, you need to go and talk to your representatives in order for them to go and push for legislations that would protect people from AI, or especially that you need to go and support unions, because so far unions have been the greatest weapons against AI. And I mean, we've seen in the past few years how effective that they can be and how much of an impact that it can cause in terms of fighting against AI. I mean, when we saw the big strikes, whether it be with writers, with actors, or with animators, or whatever, they were doing this just for fun. They're doing this in order to protect their livelihoods, in order to protect the passions that they love to pursue. That's why. If you want to fight against AI, call your representatives and support unions. And that's the key factor in which sooner or later, we will see the downfall of AI as we know it. All right, so let's see. This is such an unfortunate thing to witness, though there's a bit of a poetic irony regarding the cancellation of this project, because some people on the internet were continuously attacking Disney as a studio that makes nothing but slops, while supporting Sony as the new Pixar. But now that this film got scrapped because it didn't look commercial enough, Sony suddenly looks just as bad as the studio that they despise, at least in their eyes. Exactly. This whole thing is nothing but sheer reactionary and just blindly jumping on bandwagons because their moral compass is the algorithm or how many likes that they would go and gather, whether it be on Twitter or Facebook or anything like that. Again, if people are going to go and argue that, oh, Sony is the new masterpiece cinema or whatever, can we also discuss about what the hell did you guys do with freaking Fix and stuff like that? Do you guys keep having memory lapse? Do you guys have serious short-term memory loss or something? Because honestly, with this whole situation, the problem is not Sony. It's freaking you and the people that you listen on YouTube or on social media. Again, this is why the cartoon community needs to watch more movies instead of watching more YouTube videos. Let's see now. I have to say, the animation community really has a rivalry syndrome. They like to praise some creators or some animation studios like gods, but if they're involved in the animation industry, they should know creating an animated project is very, very hard, like dealing some business and work environments. Creating a masterpiece not only needs talent and effort, but also the ability to deal with upcoming obstacles and outcomes. Exactly, and that's a massive problem that the cartoon community has, is that they only see what's on the surface. In fact, many, if not most, of the people that are doing, that are creators, that are online personalities such as myself, even the bigger ones, they can only see what is on the surface. I mean, there is a reason why cartoon reviewers in general are massively hated by animators in the industry. And like, they even hate me. And honestly, I don't blame them. I understand why. And honestly, with the massive Disney hate that we've been seeing so far, and even the over-exaggerated love for Sony Animation, that's only causing more harm than it actually is doing good. Again, this really is like witnessing everybody else in the cartoon community doing what I did with the Sony Animation hate, except the targets are now a little bit more different. And that's why right now the cartoon community is increasingly becoming more and more unpopular, as well as creators such as Shafrillas, Saberspark, and many others. In fact, it's part of the reason why you see some like Shafrillas distancing himself from regularly talking about animation. All right, let's see. I'll read. What else is there to go and read here? Did I do, oh no, I don't think I did this one. This is definitely disappointing. This animated film definitely had a lot of potential. Amphibia, one of my favorite animated series. I've recently seen Matt Brawley did a great job with it, and with Rebecca Sugar. It could have had potential, so it really is unfortunate, but it is something that happens in animation, and I do hope Matt Brawley will move on and do good things with his new studio. Let's see. I think I'll read one or a few more comments, and then we'll move on to the next break and the next story. Let's see now. I am shocked that Sony has scrapped Matt Brawley and Rebecca Sugar's passion project. The fact that they worked on this movie for less than 2 years, it's just baffling how Matt Brawley will do his own indie project, but it's just so stupid that Sony will not let this project shop to someone else. If this movie sold to Netflix and it becomes a big hit, Sony will lose $500,000 and Netflix will become the dominant streamer, like it did with what happened with K-pop Demon Hunters. All right, let's go and read one more here. Let's see. Remember when Disney Animation announced that they have removed an original film from the schedule in favor of Moana 2, and everyone collectively lambasted them? This is no different, guys. Just from the premise, this sounded like a really intriguing movie, and this really needs to be a wake-up call that Sony Animation is not a flawless studio. Remember the Emoji Movie and Smurfs? I could have a full list, like, Sony is perfect. Really? Then explain the Emoji Movie. Explain Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Explain the Smurfs. Explain The Star. Explain all of these movies that they have done. Explain the Hotel Transylvania films. Your argument does not have any merit. Anyways, but even more sad breaking news, we just lost legendary actor Robert Duvall at 95. Oh man, that's unfortunate. I saw little bits and pieces of that news, but that is sad, man. Didn't have time to go and prepare for that, but may Robert Duvall rest in peace. I know the dude's a legend as an actor. All right, but anyways, with that said, now that we are officially done with this, let's go and actually have our next break, in which when we come back, we're going to go onto the flip side of it. Instead of talking about a movie that's been canceled, we're going to talk about a movie that was canceled but now is coming back. So stay tuned for that one. Welcome back. Now we're going to go into the opposite news, in which we are going to go and discuss about a canceled movie that's now officially back in production. This was something that was supposed to be done at Netflix, and they were ready to go and make this a major movie with a prominent star attached to it, both as the lead character and as the producer. But sadly, it was just fully let go, and they decided not to move forward with it. But eventually, over time, it was able to go and get a second chance, and now we are seeing this officially come back. So now with that said, let's go and talk about Chihuahua. Yes, Snafu Pictures, the creators of Netflix's Bad Dinosaurs, has teamed up with Jorge Gutierrez in order to bring back his passion project that he lost on Netflix called Chihuahua. Now, for those of you who don't know, Chihuahua was originally a movie that was prepared to be made on Netflix, and it was a collaborative effort of both Jorge Gutierrez and Gabriel Iglesias, or as you may know him as Fluffy. And they both have this idea about this little Chihuahua that becomes a luchador. In fact, let me go and quickly switch to my source on Animation Magazine, in which it has a little summary of what this film was about, or, well, now is about, in which it says here, Chihuahua was Gutierrez's first animated feature set up at Netflix. Popular actor and comedian Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias was attached to produce and star in the project. Written by Gutierrez, Doug Langdale, and Candy Kelty Langdale, Chihuahua was described as the ultimate underdog tale of Chacho, a scrappy masked luchador chihuahua who embarks on a hilarious journey around the world to fight for his family. After learning his beloved home is in danger, Chacho dons a lucha libre mask to become Luchacho and enters an international fight tournament, competing against a hilarious and eclectic mix of animal fighters from all over the world. Frequent Gutierrez collaborator Tim Yoon was also listed as producer. And it was actually back in 2024 that the project was actually announced as canceled. In fact, it was almost 2 years ago on April of 2024, in which Jorge Gutierrez actually put up a post on Twitter in which he states here, since everyone is asking, my beloved Chihuahua is, as of now, officially dead at Feature Animation Netflix over creative differences. I adore the film with all my heart and absolutely plan to get it made somewhere else. Netflix is being really cool about letting me take it outside, so I could not be more excited and hopeful in the future. So that right there was already a clue of what Jorge Gutierrez wants to do with the project. He already knows that he has the rights to it, you know, it doesn't belong exclusively to Netflix, so he could just go and carry it around and see if there's someone else who would be interested in making Chihuahua. That actually is the case here with Snafu Film, in which they decided to go and pick it up, and they're going to try to see if they will go and produce it with Jorge Gutierrez. And on top of that, we also got a couple of quotes that I'd like to read you here from the people of Snafu Pictures. Paul Schleicher, I think that's how you say his name, and Dan Dixon. So we got one quote here from Paul in which it says, reading from my source here on Deadline, the instant we read the script, saw Jorge's design, and heard the vision, it was clear. This has all the ingredients of a global crowd pleaser with humor, flair, and the kind of heart that only Jorge can deliver. We also got another quote here from Dan Dixon in which he adds, this project has scale, charm, and a distinct creative voice, exactly what the market is hungry for. Jorge is a legend in the animation community, and his enthusiasm is contagious. Everyone wants to work with him. And it's also worth noting, by the way, that when it comes to Jorge Gutierrez, man, is he a busy dude. Because on top of the fact that now he's going to get Chihuahua in production, he also has his own pilot, El Guapo, that is currently in the works. He already uploaded a work in progress version on YouTube that you could go and check out. But at the same time, he is also set to be the director for Warner Brothers' Speedy Gonzales movie. So right now, Jorge has a lot to do in the animation world, and this is another one that is added into it. But this is honestly a little bit of a happy side compared to what we have seen with the previous story, where even though there can be projects that end up getting canceled, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is the end of them. And there could be at some point a moment where they may end up with a second chance and someone else may pick it up and they'll go and actually do it. And this is not the only one that we've heard about it so far. There have been some examples in the past where a movie can take years, maybe even decades, to be in production, and then suddenly it will finally see the day where it can actually get produced. A great example of this is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Guillermo del Toro always wanted to go and create his adaptation of Pinocchio, one that also has a massive twist in which it is set in World War II Italy, and it has an anti-fascist message where it would go and update the morals of the Carlo Collodi story. And that honestly turned out to be brilliant. Finally, Netflix actually stepped in, where after years of being in production, they decided to let Guillermo del Toro make his film, and it turned out to be fantastic. It's so far easily one of my favorites and what I consider to be one of the best Netflix exclusive animated features out there. Honestly, that long wait was absolutely worth it, and the film that Guillermo del Toro created, easily, like, I'll even say one of my favorite works from him. Like, it's just brilliant, and I can't wait to see what Guillermo del Toro will do next with animation. But then, of course, you have heard that sometimes when a movie can be in development hell for so long and then suddenly it will be picked up, sometimes it doesn't always turn out to be a happy ending, which is the case, of course, with the famous story of The Thief and the Cobbler, in which Richard Williams had been working on that for literally decades, like for 30, I think like the production history has been like 33 years. And then suddenly, it wasn't until Weinstein stepped in and he decided to go and pick it up. And that's when the production really fell into pieces, in which Richard Williams was kicked out of it. And the film ultimately came out as a cheap looking, well, not cheap looking, honestly. Can't really describe that with The Thief and the Cobbler, but it basically looked like an Aladdin ripoff. Basically trying to cram in celebrity voices and unnecessary musical numbers, and that ultimately turned out to be a complete flop. But yeah, like, you know, the results of that often, they can be pretty mixed, but yes, it is true that sometimes it can happen when a project can actually find a second chance in life. But the big catch with it, however, is that it all depends if the creator can actually maintain the rights even after after the project would ultimately be canceled. Because it's always like a major circumstance in which they have to make sure that if it wants to get a second chance, then those creators who are very passionate about that project, that they would have to hold on to the rights so that they can actually see the light of day of that project to ultimately get created. Like, there are a few examples of this that I could think of. Like, with Lin-Manuel Miranda, for example, he had an animated film that he had been working on at DreamWorks Animation, but then suddenly 2015 happened, and the downsize occurred in which so many projects had to be let go. Hundreds of animators unfortunately lost their jobs. And with Lin-Manuel Miranda's project, it ultimately went nowhere. So he ended up still maintaining the rights of it. And that's when he moved to Sony Pictures Animation. And that ultimately turned into Vivo. And a recent example I'd also like to go and include was with Henry Selick, in which Henry Selick had this stop motion animated feature in which, funny enough, it was about to be produced by Pixar. But then, of course, John Lasseter had to step in and he decided he didn't like it, and that ultimately got scrapped. But it wasn't until recently in which it was actually confirmed that Henry Selick actually got the rights back to that particular project, which I believe is The Shadow King. And right now, we don't know what's going to be going on, but the chances of that being brought back, now it could be possible, because those rights now belong to Henry Selick, and he can have the choice if he wants to go to another studio and have that actually go and be produced. And it's the same thing right over here with what we are seeing with Jorge Gutierrez. And even with, like, when we look back into something like the Matt Brawley Thai movie that he was about to produce with Sony Pictures Animation, some people might be wondering, will that find a way to get a second chance? That honestly, I don't know, because that honestly depends if Matt Brawley does have the rights to that film. If not, and this is something that also happens as well, is that even when a project does get canceled, the companies maintain the rights to them, even if they don't want to do anything with it. So in the case of that Matt Brawley Thai movie, there is a good chance that what Sony Animation did is that they maintained the rights to that project. So Matt Brawley doesn't have a chance to go around and find another studio to go and revive it and work on it from there. So sadly, those chances might be gone, because Sony is going to be gatekeeping those rights, even if they have no intention to go and actually find someone else to go and make the movie. But with Jorge Gutierrez, however, he was lucky enough to maintain the rights of Chihuahua, so that from there, he can actually go and find someone else to go and produce it, which is actually the case with what we have seen now, in which he's now going to be collaborating with Snafu Pictures. Now, will it be the same original vision that Jorge Gutierrez had before? And also, will we see other people who were part of the production? Like, is Gabriel Iglesias still going to be part of this movie? I think that we're going to have to wait and see. I think that we will wait and see until we hear more information about this movie, and as the production will come along. And honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we do hear more about this, we might have to wait a little bit. Like, we're gonna have to wait a few years. Like, most likely by the end of this decade, we're going to get an update on Chihuahua, like maybe in 2028 or 2029 or something like that. Especially when, like I said before, Jorge Gutierrez is currently a very busy creator right now, in which he has several projects going on, including the Speedy Gonzalez movie at Warner Brothers. So, like, we're going to have to be patient to see what else Jorge has with Chihuahua specifically. But overall, though, this is great to hear that Chihuahua is actually coming back. You know, it's not completely lost, and it will have a second chance. So we'll wait and see if the wait is going to be worth it. But I am happy, definitely, for Jorge Gutierrez to have that particular project to be revived and to break through like the worrisome cancellation that it had at Netflix. So great to see that something like this can get a second chance. So with that said, now I would like to pass this on to the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what do you all think about I, Chihuahua coming back? Are you excited to go and see the movie? Are you curious about what's going to be the next steps with it? Let me know what you all think about this. All right, so let's see. This is definitely a big win, seeing Jorge Gutierrez get his animated film get a second chance after it was originally scrapped. It is impressive, and as someone who does enjoy his work, I'll definitely be looking forward to this. And between this and some of his other projects he's working on, including being the director of the Speedy Gonzales movie, he's definitely going to be busy for the next several years. Oh, yeah. But then again, with Jorge Gutierrez, this is what he loves. This is a dude who is very passionate about art and animation. So yeah, he's going to be busy. But I mean, there's a bit of jealousy that I have in which the dude is going to be very busy doing what he loves. All right, let's see. Coming from a guy that talked with Jorge a few times, I am muy feliz for him that not only he's doing Speedy Gonzales movie with Warner Brothers, but also his canceled Chihuahua movie is getting a second chance. I congratulate him and gave me a simple like on my comment. He's very respectful and deserves so much praise for making appreciation appreciation for my heritage more than ever. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Jorge, like, every time I hear about stories of people who meet Jorge Gutierrez, it's always great. I think, like, amongst the people in the animation industry, Jorge is honestly someone I would love to meet just to have a chat about animation. Like, he seems like so much fun to go and like discuss about animation and just really unleashing like our hyperfixations about like how animation is awesome, or like what new cartoons we've seen that has us hyped up. That's one of the things I would love to do one day. Like, I would love to meet Jorge Gutierrez, or hell, I don't know if he would ever want to go and consider hiring a Canadian actor, but if he ever needs a Canadian voice, like, Jorge, I am available. Well, that is, if he godforsaken listens to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I mean, I would be shocked if he would be a listener or a watcher. All right, but with that said, though, we're going to go on to one more break. And when we do come back, we will be discussing about the new Ultimate Animation streaming service. And it's not really because of like, oh, it has like the best of the cartoons. Like, none of it was actually made for that streaming service. It just so happens that this streamer suddenly has many of the best cartoons out there. So stay tuned for that. And now, everyone, it is now time that we shall go and conclude this episode off with the grand finale. And on this grand finale, I will go and tell you the ultimate streaming service to go and watch the Warner Brothers cartoons. And by the way, just a quick side note, I know that there have been some other news that's been happening related to Warner Brothers, in which one of them is that now, apparently, Warner Brothers Discovery is considering the idea of talking with Paramount to see if maybe they'll go and merge with them. Oh, excuse me, folks. Oh boy, I don't know where that came from. Instead of Netflix. And in that regards, I'm just there like, oh God, no, please don't do that. Don't even amuse the idea. But anyways, going back to what I was talking about, yes, the ultimate streaming service for Warner Brothers cartoons. If you want to go and find a place where you could stream all of your favorite Looney Tunes cartoons, all of your favorite Cartoon Network classics, all of your Hanna-Barbera shows, and all of your favorite DC cartoons out there, or at least most of them, then I know the one place you have to go. Now, the crazy thing about this is that, no, it's not what you think. It's not HBO Max. You'd think it would make sense that they would all be found in Warner Brothers streaming service, but alas, no. it's not on Warner Brothers, it's not on HBO Max, but instead, it's on Tubi. Yes, the free streaming service is now going to add many, and I do mean many, Warner Brothers cartoons in their collection. Now, it was already reported, and it's already known that right now, Tubi has become the official home of most, if not all, of the classic Looney Tunes cartoons, and the business of that has been going tremendously well. But now, starting in March, they're going to go on to the next level where they're going to be bringing in a lot more Warner Brothers cartoons. And just like what I've mentioned, yes, they will include many of the ones from Cartoon Network, from Hanna-Barbera, from DC, and of course, even more Looney Tunes will be coming. And on my source here, Cord Cutter News, they have actually provided the list of what's going to be coming in March on Tubi. And brace yourselves, folks, because this is going to be a massive list. And some people are even saying that it might be around or even exceeding 100. And so, the following cartoons that are going to be coming to Tubi starting in March include Abbott and Costello cartoons, the 1974 Addams Family series, The Adventures of Batman, Animaniacs, Aquaman, Astro and the Space Mutts, Adam Ant, Baby Looney Tunes, Batman the Brave and the Bold, Be Cool Scooby-Doo, Beetlejuice, Ben 10, the 2005 series, Beware the Batman, Captain Caveman, as well as its spin-off Captain Caveman and Teen Angels, Captain Planet, Codename Kids Next Door, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Cow and Chicken, Dastardly and Muttley in Their Flying Machines, Dexter's Laboratory, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, Dragon's Lair, Dark Dodgers and the 24th and 1/2 century. Sorry, I had to do that. Dukes of Hazzards, the animated series, the Dumb and Dumber animated series, Dino-Mutt, Dog Wonder, Ed and Eddie, Evil Con Carne, Flintstones Family Adventures, Flintstones Kids, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Freakazoid, Great Grape Ape, Help, It's the Hair Bear Bunch, Hong Kong Phooey, Johnny Quest, Justice League Action, Crypto the Superdog, Legion of Superheroes, Lunatics Unleashed, Looney Tunes 3D Shorts, Looney Tunes Cartoons, Mad, Magilla Gorilla, Mucha Lucha, New Looney Tunes Show, aka Wabbit, New Scooby-Doo Mysteries, Paddington Bear, Pebbles and Bam Bam, Perils of Penelope Pitstop, Pinky and the Brain, Pinky Elmira and the Brain, Powerpuff Girls, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Quick Draw McGraw, Ricochet Rabbit, Scooby and Scrappy-Doo, Scooby-Doo Mysteries Incorporated, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, Smurfs, Snagglepuss, Static Shock, Super Friends, Supernatural the Anime Series, Tasmania, Teen Titans, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, The Batman, The Completely Mental Misadventures of Ed Grimley, The Frankenstones, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, The Heathcliff and Dingbat Show, The Mask Animated Series, The New Adventures of Batman, The New Adventures of Gilligan, The New Fred and Barney Show, The New Scooby-Doo Movies, The Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, The Secret Squirrel Show, The Super Globetrotters, The Yogi Bear Show, Tom and Jerry Comedy Show, Tom and Jerry Kids, The Tom and Jerry Show, The Tom and Jerry Tales, Top Cat, Unikitty, Wacky Races, the 2017 Wacky Races reboot, Shaolin Showdown, Yo Yogi, Yogi's Galaxy Goof Ups, Yogi's Gang, Yogi's Space Race, and Yogi's Treasure Hunt. This alongside with a few of the others. Well, these are the one. Well, technically, a lot of these I've already mentioned before, but previously they've only announced a few. Like they just said, Animaniacs, the original Ben 10 series, Codename Kids Next Door, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, the Powerpuff Girls, the original Powerpuff Girls series, by the way, the 2003 Teen Titans series, the Batman, Batman Brave and the Bold, Justice League, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and Dexter's Laboratory. So yeah, this is all the ones that are going to be included on Tubi. And even though that, yes, you have to go and sign up for a Tubi account, Tubi is still free. In which, yeah, maybe you'll see some commercials happening on Tubi, but I mean, hey, that's a very small price to pay instead of, you know, actually paying for a streaming service. And it's honestly shocking the amount of cartoons that they have gathered on Tubi. Like that's almost the grand majority of Warner Brothers' library of cartoons that they have. Like honestly, the only things that are missing are like the main cartoons from Hanna-Barbera. Like they own, like if only they would go and get the stuff like the Flintstones or the Jetsons or the original Yogi Bear series or Huckleberry Hound, for example. They just need a few of those and they would have the entire library of Warner Brothers classic cartoons. It's already enough that they got the classic Looney Tunes cartoons, but now including this is honestly pretty wild to see. And I mean, some people may go and comment about the negligence of Warner Brothers and the direction that they want to go in terms of the kind of stuff that they want to go and produce, since they lean in a lot more towards making films for adults and families and stuff that would be considered just for kids. They're just going to leave it on the wayside and they just put it up on stuff like Tubi or even on MeTV Tunes. In fact, that's kind of what it's feeling right now. That's kind of like the vibe that I've been getting with Tubi. It's kind of like if MeTV Tunes would have a streaming service, it would be Tubi. Because yeah, you got the option that you could watch whatever cartoons you want on like on the traditional way with television, but now you got the extra option that you could go and check it out right now on Tubi. And it's honestly pretty crazy, but then again, this is going to have long-term benefits for those classic cartoons. If there's ever going to be like renewed interest to those classic shows like Dexter's Lab or Ed, Edd n Eddy or Powerpuff Girls, or even those older like those older Hanna-Barbera ones, like suddenly you would see like the Hair Bear Bunch suddenly getting a comeback, or people talking again about Dick Dastardly or Penelope Pitstop. It would most likely because of what's been discovered on Tubi. It's fascinating, but then again, they're the ones who are actually really benefiting in the long run, where now future generations are going to be checking it out regardless of which social class that they're in. Even lower class people, all they need is just an internet connection and just sign up on Tubi and they'll be able to watch whatever cartoons that they can go and see for free. It's a little bit crazy because it's kind of like it's indirectly doing what Sesame Street is doing right now, considering that now you can actually go and check out their massive library of classic cartoons on YouTube. In a way, it's ironic because the more I think about it, the more it's like, if you ultimately get let go by Warner Brothers, or if they no longer care about you, you end up benefiting more than ever, because right now Warner Brothers' future is a little bit scary. Rather it be if they're going to be merging with Netflix, or maybe they might consider merging with Paramount instead. Either way, it's pretty creepy. But still, though, the ones who get let go, they seem to have a way brighter future than Warner Brothers. They won't be dragged down with them. And that's what we've been seeing with like Sesame Street, now that they've joined Netflix and they got their own rights as well. They could go and distribute their classic cartoons on YouTube, and like, not to mention, they can also go back with PBS Kids. So right now, like, Sesame Street's future is like brighter than ever. In exchange, yeah, they got to do a lot more promotional stunts for Netflix to promote like whatever movie that may come out, or like promote whatever Netflix thing they would have released. Like, yeah, they'll like, the Netflix brand is going to be a lot more prominent with Sesame Street, but still though, it's definitely better than when they were with HBO and with Warner Brothers. And the same thing with these cartoons as well. Like, yeah, Warner Brothers is being completely negligent with them. They don't really care much, other than maybe when they would go and release a new DVD or Blu-ray through the Warner archives. Like, those are the most that they would receive in terms of recognition. And that's just because of the people behind the scenes who are really passionate about those old projects, such as Jerry Beck. But still, though, now that, you know, they're not, like, they don't have any cares from any of the higher ups from Warner Brothers, now they're going to go and get a second chance on Tubi. Like, the future of Warner Brothers, like, we don't know what's going to be happening, but the future of these cartoons right over here, like this long list, they're most likely going to be fine, especially now that they're in an easily accessible streaming service in which people can go and pick and choose whichever they're going to go and watch. So honestly, it's great. And the fact that, like, it's a free streaming service and you could check it out whenever you want, like, that's perfect. Like, even for me, I'm just going to say that I'm honestly pretty tempted. Like, I haven't before, but I think I'm going to go and try to sign up for Tubi to, you know, to rewatch those classic cartoons. You know, like, if I ever want to go and like put on something like Courage the Cowardly Dog, or especially if I want to revisit Ed, 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 Eddie, then I have an option. But then again, or I don't know, is Tubi available globally, by the way? Like, that's honestly one thing I haven't checked yet. Is like, can you sign up on Tubi regardless of where you are, or is it like a US exclusive? Anyone in the chat, I would like to know if you have any thoughts, or if you know what would be the answer to that. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to go and like immediately jump in and say like, oh, I want to go inside it. Oh, I can't. I'm not an American. You know, I don't want to be let down that way. I've had that a few times before. Let's see. Tubi is owned by Fox Corporation. Do you mean Fox Corporation like Rupert Murdoch, or do you mean Fox Corporation like in association with Disney? If it were the latter, that would be ironic. Let's see. Yes. No. You're giving me both, man. What is it, man? Okay. I don't know. But either way, I would love, you know, either way, if it's the case that I can go and actually sign up on, if I can do that, then honestly, I'll definitely do so that I could check out those classic cartoons. But yeah, overall, though, this can actually, you know, this is a great benefit. This is honestly a lot more of a win for these classic cartoons. And it's especially a win for everyone. It's a win for the public, because not only do they find a new streaming home, but also they're in a place where it's easily accessible for everyone, where it is free. We're going to get commercials with them, sure. But hey, we're not paying for Tubi, so we're not paying to get like this entire collection right over here. So overall, this is honestly just fantastic all around. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go on to the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you think of this giant collection of Warner Brothers cartoons coming to Tubi? Are you guys excited to go and check it out? Do you guys have a Tubi account and you're already watching what Tubi has to offer, especially with the Looney Tunes cartoons? I would like to know what you all think on this. All right, so This is definitely huge. Seeing so many big Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network cartoons getting released on Tubi is great. I'll admit I don't have Tubi myself, but this is still great, and honestly right now these projects are getting way better treatment than anything Warner Brothers has done for themselves, especially with how Warner Brothers pretty much removed all these shows from HBO Max. Yeah, then again, that's pretty much what I've been mentioning. It's just the fact that, you know, it's kind of better for them to be on Tubi than to be on something like HBO Max. Especially when HBO Max is like so restrictive. Like you can't, like the thing is, HBO Max is like US only, or it's very limited to a few certain countries if it's not just that. Like for me, if I want to get my HBO Max stuff, then I have to sign up for like different streaming services from Canada. Like if I want, you know, like if I want to go and watch like many of those HBO shows, then I have to get Crave. Or if I want to watch something that's on like Adult Swim or Cartoon Network, then I got to sign up on Stack TV. It's just so convoluted and stupid, but hey, at least like Tubi can give me an option that I can do so, and it's for free. I don't have to pay for it. So already that's a win for me. Let's see now. I'll be eating up on March 1st by rewatching my favorites like Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home, Mad, and Batman, the Brave and the Bold. The latter, I would say, is one of the funniest Batman shows since the weird one from 1966. If you guys haven't seen Brave and the Bold, please go and watch it, and it's all thanks to Tubi for having these shows now available to watch for free. God, I can get nostalgic sometimes. Hey, it's fine, man. As long as you're not overdosing in nostalgia can be a wonderful thing. Anyways, honestly, I'm surprised that Tubi is becoming the main show for the main streaming service for Cartoon Network shows, but at least it's not lost media. Tubi is known for having a library of so many kinds of shows and movies. Now I wish Tubi would also add Netflix that are removed or removing soon, like Voltron or She-Ra. Definitely using the service for this alongside watching Beyblade. Yeah, honestly, like, especially with the case of Netflix, it just feels weird now. You know, that's kind of like one of the big drawbacks of like making stuff exclusively for streaming, because eventually there will come a time when they're just going to be gone. And when they're out of the streaming service, they're gone for good, unless you resort to something like piracy straight up. So in that regards, maybe Tubi can also lend a hand to go and pick up some of those things. You know, like you might as well go and make it like the land of lost toys, or just the land of lost shows and movies that are no longer in the mainstream streaming services. Okay. Anyways, as a massive Cartoon Network fan and Ed, Edd and Eddy fanatic, when a whole bunch of Cartoon Network shows get removed on HBO Max, I was not happy. So much so that I had to purchase the whole Ed, Edd and Eddy series on DVD. But now that Tubi is adding all of these classic Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers cartoons, this is a massive W. Hey, I mean, look on the bright side. You get to own all of Ed, Edd and Eddy on DVDs. Like that, as a collector of physical media like DVDs and Blu-rays, that already feels like a massive plus. Anyways, honestly, I'm surprised that I already read that one. Sorry. Let's see. I'll read. Here, I think I'll read two more, and then I'll be good. So let's see. Also, by the way, I have Tubi on the internet and I don't have an account. The account is only made to save the process of the content you've been watching. That way you sign up, you can continue where you left off. By the way, curiously asking, just look it up on the internet right now. like right now? I mean, I got a bit of time, so I guess I'll see if I could do it. So let's see, Tubi. Like I could just go in right here. Oh wow, they even got like Despicable Me 2, or actually I am curious. Like I'll just go and put up, like, if I click Despicable Me 2, let me see what happens. Okay, like if I just like jump to here. Oh wow, it's just straight up the movie. All right. Wow, I don't even need to log in. All right, Tubi is just there. Okay, you know what? Let's go. Let's go, dudes. All right, I'm all set. I'm ready. Anyways, let's see here. It's great that Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers Animation, and Hanna-Barbera shows are going to be streaming on Tubi in the US, even though most shows, including Time Squad and Sheep in the Big City, are also streaming on HBO Max across Latin America, Europe, and the Asia Pacific. Also, it's funny that some forgotten Hanna-Barbera shows like Jana of the Jungle or Jane of the Jungle are still not streaming on any platforms, not even aired on Cartoon Network or Boomerang, and not even on home media releases. But yeah, I get it. But still, though, we are getting a massive wealth of cartoons coming to Tubi, and I cannot wait to see what's going to be in store, and especially what's going to be for free. And with that said, that should do it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for watching and joining me on this fun little adventure. And tune in next time when we're going to be covering more crazy animation news that are going to be coming in the near future. In fact, I'm sure for the next episode, we are going to go and check out who are going to be the big winners of the Annie Awards. So stay tuned for that. And with that said, I'd like to go and add that if you guys enjoyed your time here on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, don't forget to go and hit subscribe on the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel, as well as the not the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, but the AniMat Live Twitch channel. Also, don't forget to follow and subscribe there. And at the same time, if you guys are listening to this on whatever podcast service you're listening to, don't forget to follow me there as well. Rather be on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or whichever. Don't forget to go and give me a follow. And with that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for joining me on this. Thank you all so much for listening and watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.